Everyone. This is JJ Humphrey. We're back on Elephant in the Room. Uh, one of the things that we always start with our pet peeves. And what one of my pet peeves is that when I forget that my computer wasn't working right, and it's all on me, and I knew that, and then I get here and the computer ain't working right, and I have to do this live broadcast off my phone, which fortunately we do have our phone to do that on, but it just kicks me off when I forget that something pretty easy that I could fix. And so next week we'll try to have that up and working so that we don't have to do it off our phone. We'll have a bigger screen and we can actually do it off the computer. Hey, today Bob got sick. So Bob was going to be on with me. We're going to talk about one of his favorite subjects, which is DOC. And he got sick, kind of got flu or something like that, kind of sore throat. A lot of people's getting that right now. And so he was a little sick yesterday, but he woke up this morning a lot more sick. So, Bob, we're praying for you. Hope you get feeling better out there. And we're just going to do it all by ourselves today. So y'all stuck with me today, but fortunately, I can talk a little bit and I think I can make it through it. So what we want to bring to your attention today, and guys, I hope you're going to listen up because it is time. I've done a pretty good job of exposing stuff on the Department of Corrections and our House leadership and the government up there, the Oklahoma government. But it is time that the people jump up. And so today we're going to be talking about prisons, and many of you are going to go, well, we don't care about prisons. We don't care. They got themselves in there. That's their problem, and they're inmates. Who cares about the inmates? Guys, I probably put more people in prison than anybody you know. I put a bunch of people in prison. But I could hug their neck. I could arrest them, hug their neck, and say, how do we change your behavior? How do we make you a productive citizen? And I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, I was pretty ornery. I know that's hard to believe. And, if it wasn't for a DA and a highway patrol that really invested some time in me, and I had, of course, my dad and I had my granddad, but there's about four men that I really credit that I could have went a different way, could have ended up easily in a penitentiary. But those four men, poured their lives into me. And guess what? I turned around and turned out a little different. In fact, that's why I'm passionate about trying to help people. Guys, we need to know that these people that we're putting in the penitentiary, most of them are going to get out. Most of them are going to be your neighbors. And that if we can change their lives, change their behavior, guess what? That's better than us having to pay taxes to keep them in prison and pay for prisons, pay for jail, pay for all of the damage they do while they're out. So here's the deal. If you train a person and you get them a living wage, so if we would train these people in the penitentiary and we would train them to get out, get a job, and we would make that part of our program. We leave them as inmates. We put them out in the community towards the end of their sentence. We put them out in community as inmates. Then if they mess up, we don't have to have hearings. We just bring them back. But we train them. We get them a job. We make them show up. We make them start paying taxes. We make them become part of society so that when they get off, they're already there. They're already doing what they're supposed to. If we would do that, numbers show that we'd be about 66 to 70% successful. Now, guys, if you get those kind of numbers, that's awesome numbers. Why are we not doing that? Why are we not looking into this? But the thing about it is, instead, we've got massive corruption going on at the Department of Corrections, and we got massive problems that's going to probably end up getting us in a massive lawsuit. And so that's what we want to start off with today. So I don't know if all y'all saw it, but the Daily Oklahoman ran several articles, but they ran a huge article on last Sunday's paper. And so if you haven't seen that, go get on the webpage or go get a Daily Oklahoma from last Sunday, the Sunday edition. Guys, it was all the front page. It was a fold out and a half page, and then there was another 2 pages. So it's 4 pages, five with the front cover, 5 full pages of the Department of Corrections. Now, here's what's funny: one prison. So we were looking, he was that paper, if I'm not mistaken, was over one prison. That was Allen Gamble at Holdenville. And what this was showing was how many homicides over a 4-year period. I want to say that number was 24. Now, guys, 24 homicides. I want to give you an example. I can't remember what year I looked how many homicides we had in Toka County, but we had 5, and we at that year, and we were really, really high compared to others that year. In fact, we'd had a body dumped in and a couple of other things. So, anyways, we were high, 5 or 6, and we got about 14,000 people in our county. So 5 or 6, and that was really bad year. Okay, now you got a prison down there with about 1,700 in it. Okay, so way, way short of 14,000, 1,700, and you had about 6 a year dying. Okay, 6 a year dying from out of 1,700. And now, guys, here's the true kicker: that's homicides. That's what they declared as homicides. Guys, that's nowhere close to the number of people dying, ODs, suicides. And guess what? If you were going to kill somebody in penitentiary, if you'd hang them, they're probably never even going to investigate that as a homicide. If you OD them on fentanyl, they're probably not going to investigate that as a homicide. So there's no telling how many actual homicides. And I don't put it across the Department of Corrections. I have caught the Department of Corrections trying to cover up murder. So again, I know that one case, I don't think they would have filed it homicide. I think they would have just slid it right under the door and said he's discharged, and just called it a day and never would have reported it. And that I'm fully convinced that's what they were intended to do until we called them out on it. And so, guys, how many homicides are we unable to catch, and how many are they covering up that we don't know of? But when you're looking at 24 over a 4-year period, 6 in one facility with 6 a year on a 1,700 facility, guys, it's astronomical. It's insane as to what's going on. Now, guys, at this prison, we've had reports, and we've had good reports. I mean, verified information that one nurse held hostage, like 2 or 3 nurses, actually, as a psychologist, I believe, held hostage these nurses. I think using a syringe, they finally got her under control, went down to her car, found a couple of guns in her car, is my understanding. They're on the facility grounds. Now, well, I find that really interesting. If you'd went at about the same time over at Great Plains, they did a raid, kind of OIG come in, checking, and they caught one of the officers bringing in a pocket knife, small pocket knife. They fired him and they tried to file charges on him. Okay. Now, here around the same time period, you got the psychologist holding people hostage, total crime. I mean, got to be charged. They find guns on the ground. That's another big no-no. And guess what? She's back to week the next week, no charges. Now, guys, that's what I'm talking about. You've got a department where, hey, they don't care about right and wrong. They don't care if you're their buddy. You can do anything, including hold people hostage, bring guns on the ground. But if they don't like you and they're looking to get you, guess what? You carry in a pocket knife, you're gone. And not only that, we're going to file criminal charges on you. And guys, we tried very hard to find out. What's happening is the Department of Corrections are just liars. They're straight out liars. I know the director very well, and I actually helped him get his job. I'll tell you, I was instrumental in him getting as the second highest person under Director Crow. And that guy, the director currently, called me and said, "Hey, when Director Allball walked out at a oh Department of Corrections meeting, so they were having a board meeting. They were asking him questions. He's getting mad. He just said, 'Heck, I'm done.' He walked out of the meeting." Justin Ferris calls me and says, "Hey, we want Director Crow." And I make calls. Bobby Cleveland made calls. I want to say Speaker of the House made calls, and that's what happened. And so when Director Crow gets in there, he wanted to make a guy, my understanding, he was going to put a guy named Carpenter, who I mean, I don't know the guy very well, but from what I know of him, I didn't feel like he needed that position. Okay. And I came back, me, Bobby Cleveland, and possibly Speaker of the House at that time, came back and said we wanted Ferris, and Ferris ended up getting that position because some of the people like me stood behind him and said, "No, this is a guy helped you get your job. You're gonna put him in second highest position." Now I want to show you the kind of character this guy has, because now he sits around and calls me a liar when he knows I'm not lying. Guys, there's a lot of things you can call me, but liar don't stick to me. Liar don't stick. And anything, if he wants to call me a liar, he's welcome to come on here any day of the week or on Sundays. We're on here on Sundays, but he's welcome any Sunday to come on here. I invite you on, Mr. Ferris, Director Ferris. You can come on here. We'll talk it out. We'll see who's lying. We'll see what's actually going on. You're more than welcome. Come on here. I know you won't, because you know you're lying and I'm not lying. And you know that. And you go around calling me a liar, and there's nothing farther from the truth, because you know, and everybody knows the condition. Everybody knows the conditions of the prisons are really bad. They just don't know how bad, because what Justin Ferris has completely done, he has illegally, I say illegally, didn't stutter, illegally shut down open records. He's illegally stopped reporters from getting information, people in the legislature from getting information, the public from getting information. It's all the time. And again, what's happening? People get beat up. Guess what? Their own loved ones can't go see them because they don't want them taking pictures. They've gotten burned by some of these pictures. So when one of these inmates get beat up to the point that they're near death, they get them to some hospital, and then they won't let their family come and visit them, because guess what? They're going to cover everything up. And again, guys, when you got to cover everything up, that's a pretty good indicator you're doing lots wrong. Transparency is the sunlight that cures everything. Sunlight, shine some sunlight in on that issue, whether it be these contracts that are, again, let's look at the contract that Director Hart did right before he left. He gets a contract with Leo Technology for what, $1 million a year for 4 years. Guess what? $4 million contract. He gets that April 3rd, and he goes to work October 3rd for who? Leo Technologies. Guys, it's illegal. It's illegal as crap. And yet, guess what? Nobody will pursue it. Nobody will go after him for that. Well, he's gone. It's no big deal. No, it is a big deal, because if you don't take care of it, it's going to continue to happen. And we're going to continue to see these contracts. We saw $70 million with the contract with the company you can pull up. Terrible, terrible issues all around the United States, this company on food. But guess who they want to go with? So what makes you going to do a contract with a group that you can pull up and find out easily lots of problems with this company? massive problems with this company. And here's what's funny: they already had a contract, so they illegally made a contract. They had to get out of that contract because the state come back and said you can't make the contract because you're already under contract. Now you think they're too stupid to know that? They knew that. They knew it 100%. They don't care about the rules. And again, why do people ask yourself, why would the Department of Corrections go look at one of the sorriest companies that you can get out there and find? So they're going to go make a $70 million contract with the company that, wow. And then they're going to make a contract when they know they can't make a contract, when they know that's not a legal contract. Why would they do that? And then I just told you about making contracts and bettering yourself, profiting yourself off those contracts. So we got one contract we know they profited off of. We know absolutely. We got another contract that was with a very, very shady, sorry company that you can pull up and find that out. And then they're making an illegal contract. Now, we already know they got a history, of doing shady stuff. And guess what? Nobody's going to look at that contract. We buy a prison for $312 million. We never step foot in it. We set up the legislators so they ain't got a choice but to buy it. Again, all shady operations, and nobody looks into what's going on in these contracts. So again, it's not just the inmates that we're talking about. It's not just the treatment of inmates. It's not just all of the things that are going on there, but it's the actual contracts themselves. Guys, if you want to look into what they're doing on the contract on the phone system, I don't blame inmates for having a phone. Because go look at who's the real crooks. I mean, go look at who's the real crooks. Go look at what the Department of Corrections are charging inmates and the inmate families who's paying for it. Inmate families to talk to their loved one. And guess what? Go check out who's the crook and go look into those contracts. I'd love to look into all these contracts I'm talking about. But again, I can't get the information. Why? Because they illegally withhold information. They illegally withhold information. And again, we're going to get into that a little bit deeper into this series. But guys, it is time. This is corrupt. This is corruption. And I'm calling out the Department of Corrections today. But guess what? I could go after DHS. I could go after mental health. I could go after medical marijuana. I could go after broadband. I could go after the county jail insurance pool. Big time. I could go after the DAs. All of these, I've got all kinds of information of fraud in every one of those I just named. DOC, though, the problem with DOC is that people are being raped, people are being extorted, people are being murdered, people are being stabbed, people are ODing, people are committing suicide because of the conditions that they're in. And guys, as I started, you know what? I understand a lot of people say they're inmates. They deserve to be in there. They got themselves in there. That's all good and fine. Not arguing that. But you know what? I know, guys, every one of these people have parents, and a lot of these parents are great parents that raise their kid right. Lots of parents, As I said, I could have ended up. Many of you could have ended up right there. So again, you better be careful. That may be your kid in there. That may be your nephew in there. That may be some of your relatives, or that may be your best friend's kid in there. You know what I'm saying? Guys, it can easily happen, and it can happen to people who are pretty decent. And again, a lot of people get on drugs, get them off drugs, and they're fine people. So not everybody in the penitentiary is totally worthless or violent offenders. Many of them, I would say the overwhelming majority, are people who are going to get out. And and I will say this, if you want to look at illegal, look at what the DAs are doing. Look at how they've hijacked supervision. we could prevent a lot of these people from getting in prison if we would just create a system that would actually address drug problems, that would actually force people to get some help, force people to go to work, and not let them continue, not get this repeat until they finally pull the hammer and end up with 20 or 30 years. We could have stopped it at a much earlier place. But guys, back to this. I started off kind of talking about this article. Now, I do want to give a shout out. The Daily Oklahoman, man, did an awesome job on that Sunday edition. And Nolan Clay, man, shout out to Nolan Clay. He just did a really, super great job. I can tell you he did a lot of work to get all of the information, like I say, 5 pages of information there. And I'll promise you, if Nolan Clay reports it, he's going to have his facts to back it up. He's not going to go forward because JJ told him or somebody else told him. He's going to verify it for himself because that's the way he is. And so he did a really great job. And I just want to talk about some of the things because, guys, we're looking at one prison. So when we talk about 24 murders in that one prison, how many murders across the whole state? There's 23 prisons. And again, 4 of them, I would say Great Plains, what they call Red Rock, Lawton, OSP is always, you got to put them in there. Dick Connors, so really more than 4. OSP, Dick Connors, Red Rock, Great Plains, and Allen Gamble, all at any day can have. Now, I would say Allen Gamble's probably the worst, but I really think Great Plains may be equally as bad, but they're doing a better job of covering their information up. You can't get information out of there. Red Rock, probably about the same. OSP, just kind of up and down. You'll see times it seems like when things are going on, they're rocking and then they'll slow down and you won't hear any incidents as much, but they also do a great job of covering up. And then Dick Connors, and Dick Connors, the thing about Dick Connors is much, you have a lot of problems with stabbings or beatings or that kind of thing at Dick Connors, but you always are having problems with the facility. You're having water problems, sewage problems, issues with all of those kind of, problems there. You also have those problems, several other. I think Granite is always having some water problems, which is unbelievable. We had a $1.9 billion infrastructure bill. Why in the world were we not looking at fixing these problems that are problems, 2 or 3 times a year, 4 or 5 times at Dick Connors probably? You have water issues where inmates cannot have water. And again, this is a huge problem. You think about 1,300, 1,500 people who can't use commodes, can't shower, can't drink water. These are issues that have to be addressed. We've had air conditioner units that's been purchased and where they at. You got all kinds of problems in these facilities. But again, if you look at one facility, which is Holdenville, 24 dead over a 4-year period, well, how many homicides have been done over the entire prison system? Because if you say that, if you multiplied that, let's say the top 4, let's say they had 3, you know what I'm saying? 3 a year. Well, guess what? That's 12 a year times 4. You know what I'm saying? That's 48. It's a whole, that jumps it up to 60 something homicides across the state. I would say that's going to be low. I think that it's going to be much higher just on homicides, guys. We're not talking about deaths. I think that I looked in 24 and that we had about 180 deaths total. And again, what about when an inmate, I just got pictures of an inmate that was begging for medical assistance, asking for medical assistance, and they denied it. And then they left him laying there for quite some time. I've got videos of him just laid out and nobody checking on him, nobody doing anything that was sent to me. And again, what about that? I know that's not an intentional homicide, but that's manslaughter, or that's a negligent homicide. I mean, it's easily a negligent homicide. when the guy's begging for medical help. One of my friends went to federal penitentiary because he was running a jail and he did not provide medical assistance to a guy that had a heart attack, and he ended up getting 48 months. He made a off the cuff statement that probably didn't help, and said, "I hope you die." And the guy ended up dying, and that statement cost him. So again, he made a bad statement. He didn't mean that. But at the end of the day, the guy died and he didn't offer assistance. He didn't offer care, and he went to penitentiary. So what about these people who are asking for medical assistance? I'm getting calls every day asking for medical assistance. And guess what? They're denying medical assistance, whether the person's got a busted jaw or whether they've got, a split head. I want to remind y'all that I went into the hospital looking for a guy. His parents were looking for him. We were trying to locate him. I called to the DOC. They would not even let me see this guy. And so again, I stood out and made a video. It took me 2 more weeks to find out he was at Lindsay. The Department of Corrections didn't help me find that out. I found that out on my own. And again, this is kind of treatment that we're talking about. Why would they hide this guy from his parents? Why would they keep him from being seen by his parents? And I can tell you why, because they don't want pictures of him and they don't want that getting out, just exactly what's actually happening in the penitentiary. And so, again, one of the biggest reasons this is happening, and they lie about this, they're such liars. And they come in, we came in about 4 years ago, and we were trying to show that they were shorthanded. And they come out and said I was a liar because I said that they were about 700 something, 750 down on officers. They come in and said I was lying. It wasn't nowhere near that. It's about 300. And we have a fight for about 6 months until they have to admit. And then they come back and said, well, it's more than 750. It's 940. Now, I think they were padding the books the other way. But guys, when you looked at the number of probation pro officers, the number of nurses, and the number of correctional officers, just those 3 sets of employees, it was my estimation they were padding the books about $80 million. Okay. Now, that was over a 3-year period. We looked over a 3-year period. Okay. And guess what? We come back on the 4th year and got a $43 million raise. All right. That is money that is actually there. It's not made up money. It's not imaginary money. That was money out of their own budget that they have been lying about. We got a $43 million raise, probably the largest in state history, without one new tax and without any new appropriations. However, if you went by my estimates, that's still leaving about 37 million right there in their budget unaccounted for. And it's left 240 million unaccounted for the 3 previous years. Now, that's unaccounted for money. Now, I don't know about y'all, but unaccounted for don't line up with me. I mean, we got a whole building of accountants. We've got a state auditor. We got a whole slew of accountants hired for the House and the Senate, and we're going to call money unaccounted for. I tell people all the time, look at me. Guarantee I look country, and I can track a horse. You track 1 horse, guess what? A little tough, you might lose it. Track 2 horses, gets a little easier. Track 100 horses, tracking 100 horses pretty easy to track. They leave a wide trail. You know what I'm saying? 100 horses leave a wide trail. How about 1,000,000 horses? 1,000,000 horses. Y'all, if you can't track 1,000,000 horses, go get back on the couch. Go home, you no good, all right? You can't track 1,000,000 horses. Hey, give it up. But guys, we ain't talking about 1,000,000. We're talking about hundreds of millions. We're talking about 240 million. And actually, if you add that other 30, we're talking about $277 million. Where has it gone? You going to tell me they can't track that? You going to tell me they can't find it? Hey, they got their own accountants. Department of Corrections You think they don't know? IRS, if I skip $6, IRS is on me. Man, where's that $6 at? They can track it. How's the IRS track me? And yet we can't even track. You think that Department of Corrections don't know where every dollar is? You think they acted like, oh, we got 240 million. It ain't no big deal. That's a lie. And for them to sit there and say that, that is a lie. And even if they were telling the truth, they ought to be fired for negligence. If you can't keep up, if you're going to just say 270 something $1 million over a 4 year period doesn't matter, then guess what? You don't need that job. And in fact, if you've lost that much money, you need fired. You need fired big time because that's unacceptable. Big time unacceptable. There's methods that they can put in place to easily fix that problem. Easily fix that problem. Account for every dollar easily, in my opinion. And so, again, guys, when we're talking about all of this problem, it matters because, again, why would they? So we're going to talk about one of the issues that come up in this paper. And of course, it's talking about all the stabbings, it's talking about all the murders, it's talking about all these issues. But here's the main reason why those issues are occurring, and this paper talks about that, is the shortage of staff. The shortage of staff is what allows all these things to happen. Now, do you think that shortage of staff, they come back, oh, we can't find people who want to go to work, we can't hire anybody. And to an extent that may be true, but when we got that massive raise that was meant to inspire people to stay, it was meant to entice people to come to work because now we're getting the salary up there. Guess what they did? They froze hiring. So now they're going to say, oh, well, we didn't really freeze hiring. They got another cool name. What I'm laughing, they just rechanged the names. So if they want to drop how many escapes happen, what they do is they change it and call them walkaways. Those weren't escapes. Those were walkaways. So the number of escapes dropped dramatically. But then the question, well, how many walkaways did y'all have? Oh, well, they went up a little bit, you know. Yeah, well, they're all escapes. We didn't have a riot. We had a group disturbance. Golly, I've never believed how idiotic. I mean, how stupid. And then you've got these people who've never worked one day in prison, like their communication director. She's a riot, man. She's a hoot. I can't help but laugh at her. Ain't never can't even say incarceration, can't even say penitentiary, and then she's going to come out. J.J. Humphrey has no institutional knowledge. Like she would have 1 ounce, 1 thimble of institutional knowledge. Like I worked for the Department of Corrections for 20 years and then worked 8 years owning my own business, drug court administrator, and private probation, working with the Department of Corrections, working with the court. And guess what? 28 years experience in that field, and she ain't got any kind of just what they immediately hired her and put her in to the position. And let's not kid around. I mean, her dad was a pretty big influential person at the Capitol. He was a budget chairman for the Senate budget chairman, one of the biggest key positions. She leaves OMES, goes right over to the Department of Corrections with zero experience, zero knowledge of the penitentiaries, gets made to their communication director, which is generally held up for a person who's been around and understands things. And she becomes their communication director and don't know, you know what I'm saying? Anything. I got a saying I say, but I'm not going to say it on here. It's a little extra. It ain't G rated, so we won't say it. But again, y'all get the point. She don't know diddly crap what she's talking about. And they switch it. A riot we now call a group disturbance. You know, 2 dead, 30 injured. It was a group disturbance. Guys, you can't make it up. So, guys, one of the biggest things behind all of these issues is the fact that we have a shortage of officers. Now, I wanted to find out how many officers short we were. I requested subpoenas. I requested bills. I wanted a bill that would allow me to walk in without notification so that I can find out. Because what they'll do, they'll fraud the books. It's fraud. It's illegal. And they'll change their rosters. And they'll show that they have more people than they actually do, which was insane. Why would a director, you got to ask yourself, why would a director falsify books, try to keep a elected official from finding out the truth, work their tails off to make sure that we don't allow anybody in to actually account and hold accountable and actually verify? But why would our house? I get the reasons why they would do it. And again, if you were an honest broker, you would want people to come in. You would want to verify the shortage. You would want to verify all the issues, because then you would go to the legislator and say, we have all of these issues. We need your help. We need money. We need assistance. We need all of the things to fix this problem. Now, they didn't do that. They hid it all. They keep it hid, but then they go back to the legislator. And again, think about what I'm saying. The legislator is the one that should be holding them accountable. The legislator is the one that should want to look at this. Okay, they go over to House leadership and say, back Humphrey off of us. We don't want this bill that he's wanting to get in here. We want you to kill it. Well, guess what they do? They kill it. And there's no question if they kill it, they kill it. Second, I'm trying to get subpoenas, and all these subpoenas have to go through the speaker. So if you want to look at when I was asking for subpoenas, why would the speaker stop any subpoenas into what's going on? Now, here's what's funny. I had a former well-known, one of the best wardens come in and explain to him what was going on, why we needed this, give all the information, had a big meeting with him. Then I turned around and asked for subpoenas. Now, they told him, get with me and line it out what we need. We did that. We asked for subpoenas. We asked to be able to go in there and look. Guess what? 100% ignored, 100% denied. Now, why would the Speaker of the House, with all of this evidence that we provided, showing all of these issues, when we already proved, we already caught them in a lie, we caught them lying about how many they had, they come in and admitted it, he knows that, we caught them lying about closing the prison, caught them in multiple lies. Now, why would he deny me any subpoena? We had a hearing on rape. We provided massive evidence on rape. Guess what? Denied, would not allow us to have any subpoenas on verifying the rapes. They said, well, the AG investigated. We had the AG come over. Guess what? The AG admitted. I never talked to a whistleblower. The AG was supposed to investigate two things, okay? He was supposed to investigate whistleblower violations. We bring him into a committee hearing. We said, did you talk to the whistleblower? Never talked to a whistleblower. I said, I prepared the packet to show whistleblower violation. You never came talk to me. So you didn't talk to the person that's a whistleblower. You didn't talk to the person preparing the evidence. Did you talk to the lawyer who represents all this? No. Did you talk to where we turned in our whistleblower complaint? Did you talk to those people? No. Who did you talk to? Nobody. Now, guys, there's your whistleblower investigation by the AG's office. They talked to nobody. It's on record. Then we said, well, how did you do this? Well, we looked into the rape and we found that there wasn't nothing on the rape charges y'all claim, so there wasn't no use checking the whistleblower. Now, that is a lie, because the whistleblower could have been telling what they believe the truth. They had all the evidence. So again, one's not, dependent on the other. So we bring him in on the rape. Okay, did you talk to any of the witnesses on the rape? No. Well, you already admitted you didn't talk to the whistleblower. So you didn't talk to any of the rape victims. You didn't talk to the whistleblower who produced massive evidence of all this. Did you talk to any of the people accused? Nope. Did you talk to any of the other 40 witnesses or so that we provided? Nope. Well, who did you talk to? We talked to Agent James Hunt, and he said he'd investigated it. Well, not at all. So you talked to the person we're accusing of hiding all this, and that's the one person you talked to, and you didn't talk to anybody else that we provided with multiple, over 50, 60 people. Yep. Guys, wow. I mean, wow. And that's what. Now, here's what's funny. So we asked the House in this meeting, we want a subpoena for guess who? James Hunt. We're going to bring James Hunt over and we're going to show he's a liar. You know what happened? They wouldn't allow it. They did not allow us to investigate that. Wouldn't give us a subpoena. Guys, why is the Department of Corrections making agreements with the House leadership? And why is House leadership? Guys, I got an email saying from the Department of Corrections that I no longer could have records by agreement with the House leadership. So they're saying they made an agreement with the House leadership to stop me from having records, that if I want to view records, I would have to go to their office and that I would have to sign a non-disclosure. Now, guys, I'm an elected official. Why would I need to sign a non-disclosure? I'm in their chain of command. Why would the House ever agree to something like that? Again, it's all corruption. Guys, if y'all can't see what's happening, all corruption, all these contracts, all this money, all this cover up. Where's the 240 million? What about the 70 million on the food contracts? Go look into these phone contracts. Go look into already 100% proved Leo Technology contract. Look at what the director got, $90,000 raise, unapproved. Look at the office they got, 1.2 million per year, unapproved. All this money, guys, this is massive money. Who's it going to? Who's these contracts being made with? And why will they not let you have any records? Why would they stop an elected official? You would think our House would be proud that you're doing that much work. Instead, they kicked me off chairmanship. They closed that with all of these issues, 24 dead, people raped, extortion going on, madness going on. They closed the correctional committee. They kick off the chairman who's finding all of this. Why would they do that? And then they meet and make agreements, not going to let us. And then they say the reason because you leaked information. Well, the information I leaked was human rights violation, them blocking people in 2x2 cell. Why would my administration, why would the Speaker of the House for the last 5 or 6 years, 8 years, whatever it's been, we're in this, why would they say that? Why would they say that they'll make an agreement with and then stop me and then kick the committee out? Guys, it is corrupt. And again, here's the way we got the $43 million raise. We found that they only had half the people working for them, less than half, 940 short. Then, like I say, then they're short and they freeze hiring. So guess what? They're not going to hire more officers. They on purpose froze the hiring. They on purpose keep it low. And all of these problems, and guess what? It's gotten lower. It ain't got bigger. It's gotten lower. It's gotten because they've added on prisons. They'll go, oh, look how many we added on. Yeah, but you added on 2 prisons that you should have added on 500 or 600 employees. And they have not. Guys, it is a racket. It is a racket, and people are dying. These people have blood on their hands. I mean, the director of the Department of Corrections has blood on his hands. The governor has blood on his hands. The Speaker of the House, previous Speaker and this Speaker, has blood on their hands. The pro tem, I don't have as much contact, but there's no way that any of this has been done in the dark. I have been extremely noisy. Guys, extortion going out the roof, murder out the roof, stabbings. Guys, this week, I got a report of a person beaten, every bone in his face broken, is what I'm told. Can't see him, can't hear, can't prove it. Because guess what? You would think if it wasn't true, the Department of Corrections would be saying, not true. Let's bring somebody in. Let's let the family come in. Let's let Humphrey come in. Instead, I'll get another chase around and have to go trying to track this guy down. What hospital is he in? Where's he at? And guess what? It's going to be, exhausting hour after hour. And I'll never get to see him because they won't let me in to see him because, again, they don't want pictures. And how do they keep an elected official out? And here's what's funny. When I ran that bill to say that we can come into the prison unannounced, we can come in and talk to inmate, my House leadership and the Department of Corrections said, we don't need this bill. He can come anytime. He can come anytime. That's a damn lie. They're liars. How dare them call me a liar? They're liars. The director is a liar. And our House leadership is just complicit. They're conspiring. And again, to conspire to violate Open Records Act, it's violation of open records. It's a conspiracy to violate open records. I filed a lawsuit on them. Didn't know the attorneys I had dropped the ball on that. Did not file notice to them. And I may have to refile that. I'm looking at whether I want to refile that. What can we gain from refiling it? So again, wasn't that I don't have the evidence. My attorneys dropped the ball and didn't serve them in time. And again, that was a rule I wasn't looking at. I was expecting attorneys to take care of that. Okay, but here's the thing. Why are they conspiring together to commit crimes? Why are they conspiring together to hide all of these deaths? Why are they conspiring together to hide how many officers we have? Why are they conspiring together to hide whether they're falsifying records? You would think the House would go, man, JJ, you're doing an awesome job. Great job. Instead, they can't stand me. They hate my guts and livers because I'm actually exposing them as well as the Department of Corrections. And again, guys, this is not just Department of Corrections. This is every agency. They're complicit in every agency. They're hiding millions and millions, and they're turning their head. $100 million gone on DHS last year. 100 million. You know what they said? Unaccounted for. Guess what? 43 million in the mental health. You know what they said? Unaccounted for. Anybody go to jail? Anybody held accountable? Now, they finally did fire the mental health person, but again, Governor Stitt wasn't going to fire. Nobody else was going to fire. Finally, the Senate jumped up and did what was right and actually fired her. Guys, we have to take back. I don't care if you have somebody in the penitentiary. What is being done in the penitentiary, one, is massive scale wrong on inmates. Now, if it don't interest you to do what's right, you're going to end up getting sued. That should interest you. But plus, what about the people who work in there? What about the officers? We should care about the officers. Surely you care about the officers. Let's go ask the officers. Because when I come into a prison, DOC may hate me, but most of those officers walk up and say, appreciate everything you're doing. Man, everything you're doing, it means the world to us. So me speaking out, me taking the hit, guess what? These officers know, and they're having to work in dangerous, shorthanded, hours unbelievable. Guys, we got to start taking care of our officers. We got to get this back. We got to call these leadership out. We got to hold them accountable. Guys, they're grossly overweight on top, and they're tremendously underhanded, or they are underhanded, but understaffed on the actual boots for ground where the real job is. So why do you need more administration at high dollar salaries and have less and less and less people actually doing the job, creating a dangerous environment, creating a hostile situation. Guys, it's going to get us a multi-million dollar lawsuit. Back in the 70s, they had Battles versus State, Battles versus Anderson. We lost. It cost us a gob of money. We had to go back in and fix a lot of problems, hire a lot of people. We want the government, we want the federal government to stay out of our business. We don't want another lawsuit. Let's fix the problem before we have to do that. And we know the problem, except the governor's allowed it to go on. He's ignored it. The House has conspired together with the DOC to cover it up. And again, when you see this kind of behavior, guys, it smacks of corruption. It smacks of bad contracts. It smacks of underhanded payments. It smacks of conspiracy and all of these issues that need to be investigated. And again, until we investigate it, until we have it all verified, you can't say it's happening. Well, we know that the former director did, because we caught him red-handed. We caught him giving himself a $90,000 raise that was not justified. We also caught him getting a contract by giving a contract, which is again illegal. So it's not maybe. We know these rapes occurred. We know they didn't investigate them. That's not a maybe. We know that. We proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt. We proved that they falsified an investigation, and we proved that they had mental health, or not mental health. They locked people in 2x2 cells, which are human rights violations. What I was trying to say. We know that, guys. This is not maybe. This is an absolute fact. It's well known. The question is, why is the House, who's supposed to hold them accountable, made and conspired together to make sure that the numbers of people getting killed is covered up, number of people ODing is covered up, the number of people committing suicides covered up. Guys, how many officers? Why would they cover up how many officers? Why would they not let me have a subpoena? At the time, they would not let me have subpoenas on massive evidence of rape, that they wouldn't give me a subpoena. They were subpoenaing Ryan Walters, so they're subpoenaing Ryan Walters' records. How many people did he hire from the other state, from Texas or somewhere? Guys, you're going to subpoena how many people did you hire from another state, but we're going to not allow subpoenas on rape, on extortion, on murder, on stabbings, on officer shortage, on fraudulent, because they're fraudulently signing these rosters. We could have proved it at the time, but we couldn't get subpoenas. They wouldn't let us in to do all this. Why is the House and Department of Corrections doing that? And guys, it's corrupt. It's corrupt as hell. That's all you can say about it. And they're liars. The director he's a liar. He calls me a liar. I'll publicly, out and open, call him a liar. And if he wants to see whether I can prove that, let him come out and say I'm a liar. I'll be happy to go on any news station. I'll be happy to come on here. I'll be happy to provide the evidence, show for fact he's a liar. And how does he keep getting promoted? And here's the deal. Regretfully, I helped him get his position. I regret that. I regret because he has so lied. He has got blood on his hands. How many people have died while he's been in there? Second place, in the second position, or now as director. How many people have died at his hand? And again, it's hundreds and hundreds. Maybe over the time period, maybe up 1,000. And guys, what about the House speakers? What about them? They got blood on their hands. What about the governor? The governor's got blood on his hands. And guys, it's not just blood. Where's the money? Where's all the money? Where's all the contracts? All of this, we're calling them out. We caught them abusing travel. We caught them abusing going all over the United States when they should have been home taking care of their issues right here at home, and they have not. And again, guys, this is a call out. I want you to get that Sunday paper. Guys, we're getting pretty close to the end. I've talked straight hour about what the issues are, guys. What I can talk all day long. I'm going after them all day long. I'm going after DHS. I'm filing grand juries against the entire criminal justice, against the Supreme Court judges because they let this stuff go on. I'm filing against judicial complaints because they won't hold the judges accountable and they allow all of this to go on. I filed on two of the top governor candidates. The AG was one of them. I filed on the House Speaker currently. I filed on multiple other judges, multiple DAs. We filed on agency heads. Guys, we filed that because we're calling them out. They've went after me. They've tried to sanction me. $50,000. One of the other organizers, they've arrested him and gave $1 million bond. Just insane. We're going to prove all of that is retaliation against us for going after them. But guys, 2 people can't do it. 16 people in Payne County can't do it. It's going to take the state to stand up and start calling this out, demanding of your legislators, demanding of the House, demanding of the Senate. It's time this bullshit stop. And we got to call it out. I need you to get involved, not sit around, not hear this and do nothing. Guys, we got to take Oklahoma back. And I hope you'll get with me. I hope you'll help me. I hope you'll get involved in the elections. Hey, I'm running for lieutenant governor. The reason I'm running for lieutenant governor is right here, right what we're talking about. It's time somebody take over that Senate and start holding these agencies accountable. I hope you'll get out and help me with that lieutenant governor's race. Tell everybody, help me financially, help me any way that you can. And guys, get involved in what we're talking about, not just with the Department of Corrections, with all of these rogue agencies and with our leadership right in bed with them, right there involved with them. They're as illegal as any of these agency heads. They're why these agency heads can act the way they do. It's time we call our Oklahoma government out, take them back. Y'all have a very good day. Thank you for joining us.